Well, good afternoon, guys, and today I have another species profile, this time on Chamaenerion angustifolium, commonly known as fireweed. Now, this species, which is formally considered to be a member of a genus Epilobium, has a very widespread distribution, no doubt in part aided by its seeds, more on that later. It is found widely in both North America and Eurasia, giving it a holarctic or circumboreal distribution. Within North America, it is very common in the western United States, where it can be found growing from 5,000 feet in elevation, or about 1,600 meters, up to the tree line, with it tending to be more common on the upper end of this elevation gradient, as well as in the upper Midwest, the northeastern states, north through Canada and Alaska to the Arctic tree line. Now, Chamaenerion angustifolium is a member of the evening primrose family, Oenograceae. This is a family of about 650 species found primarily in the Americas, both north and south, tropical and temperate, but a few species in general are found in other parts of the world as well, such as the one I'm talking about today. Some features of the family Oenograceae include flowers with 4 petals and 4 sepals, an inferior 4-carpelled ovary, and 4 or 8 stamens, very heavy on the parts or at least factors of 4 here. Some features that distinguish this species in particular include its tall stature, going up to about 2 meters at the most, or over 6 feet. Its leaves, which are rather long, elliptic, or lanceolate, and sort of pinnately ribbed, which you can see. Very distinctive. And, of course, its flowers, which are pink, no more than an inch in diameter, have these long stamens, and occur in this sort of terminal raceme that will just keep growing until the plant just can't anymore. It gets too cold or dry for it during the growing season. Now, some of you guys might be wondering why this plant is called fireweed. Is it dangerous to the touch, perhaps? Well, the answer to that question is no. It is not. It is perfectly harmless. The reason it's called fireweed is due to its tendency to pop up in areas that have been recently burned. It's a sort of a weedy colonist species that likes to grow in areas with abundant sunlight and open growing space, where it doesn't have to compete too much. And it's rather shade intolerant, so areas that have been recently burned represent almost a perfect habitat for this plant. And its most important feature to this lifestyle is its seeds. But we're not going to be able to see any in this video. It does, after pollination, produce these long capsules that can be lined with literally hundreds of seeds on the inside. And when they split open at maturity, they release them, and due to this sort of downy fluff that covers them, they easily get caught by the wind, which can then carry them away to faraway places. Given that each plant can produce over 100 flowers in one growing season, we're talking about potentially tens of thousands of seeds produced by just one little plant. Though the majority of them, I should say, will never germinate. Most will land in places that are not ideal for them to grow. Some will get eaten by animals, some will just be infertile from the beginning. But a few of them, because it produces so many, are almost guaranteed to land in open habitat, and thus the circle of life will continue. It's also important to note, however, despite being a sort of weedy colonist species, it does grow as a perennial, so it develops a resilient rootstock that can survive fires as well. So that's another way it can pop up quickly after fires, because it was already growing there to begin with. Some of you old-timers might be wondering why I'm calling this plant Chamaenerion angustifolium when it's so obviously Epilobium angustifolium. What changed, if anything? Well, if we go back to Linnaeus, he did indeed call this genus Epilobium, and that was in species Plantarum, so that name absolutely should have priority over all others. But despite this, a few other botanists at the time, such as Raffnesque, chose to call it Chamaenerion or Chamaenerion, which is more in line with what the pre-Linnaean botanists called this genus. Nevertheless, the name Epilobium stuck, though I think in like the 50s or 60s, I can't remember when exactly, some botanists realized that this and a couple other species were rather derived and likely a highly derived genus deeply set within Epilobium. Some features that distinguish it from the rest included spirally arranged leaves, which you can see here, as opposed to oppositely arranged, and flowers that are ever so slightly, just a little bit, bilaterally symmetric, as opposed to radially symmetric. Not to mention that this plant and its closest relatives lack a floral tube. It looks like it has one, but that's just the inferior ovary. Then in the 90s, genetic testing on this genus, so pretty early for genetic testing, showed that actually Chamaenerion was the sister to all other Epilobiums, and it was decided by some to basically be its own genus. And it actually stuck, though it's a bit controversial because it was really completely unnecessary. It would not become a paraphyly if it was kept within it. It's still the closest living relative, to the rest of Epilobium. There's nothing closer related to it than the genus Chamaenerion, so they could really be considered Epilobium and nothing would change at all. But nevertheless, it's what stuck for the most part, and I'm going to go with what most of the botanists have chose to do this time. So I'm sure some of you guys are wondering if you can eat this plant. The answer is yes. I've said it's perfectly harmless. It's not very palatable though, and you need to cook the leaves. That being said, the flowers are made into a jelly or jam in parts of Yukon and Alaska and other areas in Canada. You're of course going to need a lot of sugar to do this because the flowers don't have any to begin with, but I heard it's not too bad. It's sort of floral tasting. Just remember to not take too much and, maybe try and grow it yourself if you want to cook with it. You can find some recipes online. I'm not going to put any up because I never tried them and I'm not interested in figuring out, but either way, thanks for watching and see you next time.